There is so much conflicting information out there about what actually helps stroke spasticity. So I went into the clinical guidelines, the research that's supposed to shape how therapists treat this. I pulled out everything with strong evidence behind it, and I picked out 7 approaches that are all doable at home. And the last one is probably something you haven't tried before. Most people are treating spasticity like it's a muscle problem. They're stretching it, forcing it, massaging it, and that makes total sense because that's what you do with a tight muscle. But spasticity isn't a tight muscle. It's actually a misfiring signal from the nervous system, causing the muscle to be tight. So until you address the signal, the muscle is not going to respond differently. And in the 10 years I have working with stroke survivors at home, I see this consistently. People are working very hard, but just with the wrong tools. So before I get into this list, drop a comment below and tell me what you've already been doing for your stroke spasticity, and let's see if it makes the list. So the nervous system responds to organized input, and these are the 7 inputs with the strongest evidence behind them at home. You don't need to do all of them, but the more you're doing, the more signal you're sending to your brain. Now, let's start with the one that most people are aware of, and that's of course weight bearing. This is the foundation, and it's where I start with almost every client. Simply place your affected hand flat on a surface like a table. If you can get your finger straight, great. If not, that's okay too. And what we're doing is we're shifting our weight into that arm. You can do this seated or standing. And when you load your body weight into the hand and the wrist like that, you're sending powerful proprioceptive signals to the nervous system that the limb is active, it's in use, and it's safe. And that organized input directly competes with the misfiring signal that's driving the spasticity. So even a few minutes of this before you do any other exercises changes what the nervous system is ready to do. And the second strategy is antispastic positioning. Positioning is something you can do all day and not just during your exercise time. All this is holding your hand and arm in the opposite pattern of the spasm. So wrist extended, fingers open if possible, and arm out to the side. And this is going to reduce the reflex load on the nervous system over time. This is not passive, it's active input in the right direction. At the most basic level, this can be as simple as resting an arm on a pillow or rolled up towel with the hand supported in a more open position. You don't need equipment to start doing this today. But if you want something more structured, this is what I use with my clients. What I like about this orthotic is it's got spring-loaded plates, which lets you customize the resistance you're giving your hand. And this is massive to avoid triggering that stretch reflex. It runs about $200-300, but if that's out of your price range, I'll link some more affordable options in the description that still get the job done. The third strategy is, and this one often gets overlooked, is repetitive active movement, even if it's small movements. Because every time you intentionally move your hand, wrist, arm, partially, or even just a small flicker, you're sending a motor signal down from your brain through the same pathway that the spasticity has disrupted. And repetition of that signal does 2 things. First, it starts rebuilding the strength of that descending connection over time. But what it also does is whenever the extensors contract, they're inhibiting the flexors, meaning every time you do a rep of extension, you're directly competing with the spasticity tightness that's pulling your hand close. So the nervous system learns through repetition. It doesn't care about how big the movement is. So if you can even get a flicker of finger extension or wrist extension, work with that flicker. That's not nothing. That's the nervous system recalibrating. And the fourth strategy is neuromuscular electrical stimulation. For those who want to add a tool to the program, NMES to the wrist and finger extensors is one of the most well-supported interventions in the research for reducing spasticity and improving motor control. What it's doing is creating active movement signal when your brain can't fully generate it on its own yet. And it's essentially just filling in that gap in the communication line. So this strategy works the same as the previous strategy. It's just for those who don't have any movement yet, this electrical stimulation device adds that movement so they can access that strategy. Now, a lot of people get confused between TENS and NMES. So TENS is for pain management. It's more of a sensory stimulation to the nerves, and it does not produce a muscle contraction. And that's not what we're after here. You want NMES, Neuromuscular Electrical Stimulation, which is actually strong enough to contract the muscles. That active contraction is what sends the right signal to the nervous system. So if your device isn't moving your wrist or fingers when you're using it, it's probably not doing the job for spasticity. But I've got links below for devices that I've used that are all designed for this. And if you're interested in one, you can check them out. Just make sure to talk with your doctor before beginning any electrical stimulation program, as there are some contraindications for use. The fifth strategy is mirror therapy and motor imagery. Both of these interventions work on the same principle. The brain responds to the signal whether your movement is real or imagined. With mirror therapy, you're watching the unaffected hand move, and your brain is processing movement in a way that activates the same neural pathways as if the hand was actually moving. Pretty cool. With motor imagery, you're vividly imagining the movement in the affected hand. Neither of these require any physical movement, which makes them especially valuable for anyone with limited hand function right now. I've got full videos on both of these linked below. The sixth strategy is sensory stimulation. After a stroke, the affected hand is often being used less, touched less, and engaged less, which means the nervous system is being starved of the sensory input it needs to maintain its map of the arm and hand. So deliberately reintroducing organized sensory input through different textures, temperatures, pressures, feeds the system what it's been missing. And this doesn't require any equipment. Rough fabrics, a warm towel, a smooth surface, textured ball, all of it counts. But if you want something more structured, I'm going to link a few sensory tools I've used in the description below. So the last strategy on this list is vibration, and this is one of the most underused tools on this list. Vibration works by directly targeting the stretch reflex. That's the exact mechanism driving the spasticity. So when you apply vibration to the skin or muscle, it stimulates sensory receptors that send organized input up through the spinal cord, competing with the misfiring signal that's keeping the muscle locked up. And here's what makes this really interesting. The research shows measurable reductions in spastic tone even after the vibration stops. It's not just masking the problem, it's temporarily shifting the signal. So here's how to use it. If your wrist flexors are tight and pulling your hand closed, you would just apply the vibration to the extensors, the muscles on the back of the forearm doing the opposite movement of the spastic muscles. So if you want to give vibration a try, I'll link a few affordable options in the description below for you to check out. Every single one of these interventions works because it gives the nervous system something it's been missing since the stroke: organized input. And the more of these you're doing, the more signal you're sending in the right direction. So you don't have to do all of these, you just need to do the right ones for where you are right now. And be sure to take the free quiz in the description. It just takes 2 minutes. It'll tell you your recovery stage and point you to your next right step. Now you know what the research says you can do for stroke spasticity at home. But here's the thing, improving spasticity isn't just about what you do, it's also about what you should stop doing that's ramping up spasticity in the first place. And I've got a full video on the 5 most common mistakes I see actively keeping spasticity turned on, and I guarantee you're doing at least one of these. The link is right here.